here today for Lawnfawn and welcome back to the channel. Today I have a card to share with you using the Sublime stamp set, which is super cute. I'm also going to be making a shadow box card today, so I'm using those dies as well as the ocean add-on dies just for the little waves, and then I'm also going to be pulling in the slide on over dies to create a little slider inside of my shadow box as well today. This week is also a Xyron week, so make sure you head over to the blog for a ton of different details about this. And for today, I'm going to be using the Mega Runner and also the adhesive eraser, which are two really great products. I've been using the eraser for a long time now and I absolutely love it. And that Mega Runner has some super amazing adhesive and it's super strong, and I really love it. So let's get on with the card. I'm going to be using the Sublime stamp set. So I've just pulled out some watercolor cardstock from Tim Holtz, and then I've also pulled out my Versamark Onyx black ink, and this is just because this ink stays wet for a long time, so you can clear heat emboss with it, which is really nice. So I've just gone ahead and stamped out all of the images that I'm going to use for my project today and coated them in some clear embossing powder, and then I'm just going to use my heat tool to heat set these images. And the reason I like to do clear heat embossing when I'm watercoloring is just because it helps the color stay more contained, so it just makes it a little bit easier, so you know, watercolor doesn't bleed outside the lines or anything like that, so that's why I like to do it. But yeah, so anyway, I'm going to be using the Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers for my project today. I really love these markers. They're some of my favorite watercolors because I feel like it sort of combines my love for Copics, which are obviously in marker form, and watercolor, which because I really like the watercolor look. So I really love these markers. So I'm starting off with a yellow color, and for these markers I just go in with usually only one marker just to make it a lot easier for myself, and I just put in the marker where I want the darkest areas to be, and then I blend it out with a water brush, and that just gives me a really nice gradient effect, and I only have to use one marker and only a tiny bit of color, which is really nice. So now I'm using this pink color to color in, I don't know, this little like coral image. I'm not really sure what that is, and then also coloring in this little fish. Then I'm pulling in a green, sorry, not a green, I'm pulling in a red for this little like lobster image, which is super duper adorable. I absolutely love him, and I'm just going in and coloring all of those sections individually. Since some of these markers I do find out that they dry a little bit quicker than others, so it's harder to blend them out. So when I can work in sections, I definitely like doing that. Now that I've finished off the little lobster, I'm going to move in with the green color and just color in this little bit of seaweed, I think it is, and then also these little vines as well, and I'm just blending those out just a tiny little bit just to give them a little bit of color, which I really like. Then I'm just finishing off the second one here. And this is a Pentel Aquash brush, I believe it's called, and this is probably one of my favorites since it doesn't let out too much of water, so it's really easy to control. Now that I have finished the seaweed and vines pieces, I'm going to move on to the little what do you call this fish? I'm actually not sure, but the one with the little light on the top of his head, I'm going to colour him in orange. I'm not going like super realistic on this colouring either, just because I really wanted it to be a fun, colourful, vibrant card, so that's what I'm going for. Then I'm colouring in the little scuba man, and I'm colouring his suit in blue. This is a colour called Cornflower Blue. It's probably one of my favourites. It's quite dull, but I just really love the shade of the blue, so that's what I'm using here. So once I finish colouring him up, I'm going to colour in his little flippers in with a dark grey, and then I'm also going to colour in the outside of the mask and just little details and things with that colour as well. Then I'm moving back on to the submarine, which I just wanted to colour in the details with the same grey as well. I didn't want it to be completely yellow, but I did want it to be a yellow submarine. So anyway, and then I'm just going back in with that same number 50 yellow for his little tank and the little mask section. And then I also coloured in the little light on that fish with the yellow as well. Then I'm using 2 shades of purple for this other fish that I have here. I just used a darker purple for the main body and then a lighter violet colour for his face and his tail fins. So that purple didn't really blend out too well, but it's fine, it's only a small area. Then I'm just using this flesh colour for his face and then this brown for the rock. Then for the last finishing touch, I just took this really light blue and coloured in the windows of the submarine as well. So now that all of those images are coloured in, I'm just going to take my heat tool and also dry them off and then use the coordinating dies to cut them all out. So once I have them all cut out, I can move on to making my shadow box. So once I had finished die cutting all of my images out, you can see that they're all rainbow, they're super pretty and colourful. I can start die cutting all of my elements for the shadow card or the shadow box card. So I'm going to use a ton of different colours of lawnfawn cardstock. So I'm going to start off with some cilantro cardstock and I'm just going to use this as my main base for the shadow card. So I've just cut a long strip and I'm going to cut 2 of these main shadow box pieces out of here. So one just on its own and then one with the little square or rectangle insert that you can use that has stitching around it to create the sort of opening for the shadow box card. So I'm just adhering that down with some washi tape and cutting that out with my Big Shot machine. Then I'm using some sunflower cardstock to cut out a little sandbank, and that's from the original shadow box set as well. Then I'm using the ocean add-on set for the wave pieces, and I'm going to cut that out of some Moonstone cardstock and also some blue Jay Cardstock as well, just to give it a little bit more interest. And I'm going to extend this wave die cut piece here. So I've adhered it down onto a piece of blue Jay Cardstock with some washi tape. Then I'm going to take my cutting plate and just add it over half of the die cut and run that through my Big Shot machine. And as you can see, it won't cut the bottom, it'll only cut the top where you added your plate over the top. Then I'm going to extend this die cut. So I'm going to lay my die cut back over top and push it down a little bit further so it can be longer, or so it just can have more space for the little slider element that I'm going to add. Then I'm going to turn my cardstock around, adhere that down, and run through the bottom section of that piece. And that just makes that wave layer a little bit longer, so it has a little bit of extra room to add a die cut inside. Then I've just taken an X-Acto knife and I'm going to cut off the edges just because they didn't cut all the way through. So that's how I extended the die cut there, which is super cool. Then I'm going to use the slide on over dies and just use this little straight die to cut that from that wave piece, and I'm going to run that normally through my Big Shot machine, and that's what's going to create my little slider channel, which is super fun. Then I also use that wave die once again to cut another layer out of some blue Jay cardstock as well, just because I feel like I needed an additional layer. Then, because this cardstock that I use from Lawnfawn is super duper thick, I'm going to use a bone folder and a scoring tool and just reinforce those score lines just so I don't get any cracking or anything like that when I go to fold all of my pieces. Now it's time to assemble this shadow box. So I've just laid down one of the green pieces flat, taken off the adhesive off one side and adhered that down, and that's going to create basically the base of my box. And then I can adhere all of my layer pieces on the inside. So I want these to be staggered so I can see all of the different heights inside of the shadow box. Of course, if you wanted them all to just be the same height, you could adhere them all down at the bottom of the shadow box and then just use acetate to pop up your images to give different heights, but I just thought this was the easier way, so I just staggered all of those pieces like so. Then I'm removing the backs of the adhesives once again, and then I can push down on the other side of the shadow box and adhere that side to the other side, and it be all nice and straight, and it's just going to work perfectly. So that's how all of those layers look now that they are all adhered, and now I can move on to assembling my card. So to adhere all of my little images down to my box card here, I am going to use the Xyron Mega Runner Adhesive, and I don't think I've ever used like a runner adhesive by Xyron before, but I really love this one. It's really easy to hold, it's not too heavy, and I really love it. And also a really great thing about this as well is it seems super strong, but it's not like a solid strip of adhesive. It's like all of these little dots of adhesive being pushed down onto the cardstock as well, so it's really easy to sort of wipe them away if they go over the edge, and it doesn't become like a big gunky mess, which I really love. So I'm super excited to have this in my stash now, and I will definitely be using it lots again. It's super amazing adhesive. So I'm just going to arrange my little scene together. I've just added the little lobster and one of the vines down on the left hand side, and then I'm adhering down the coral piece and also an additional vine on the right hand side, and just pressing those down into place. I definitely found adhering all of the images after I adhered the box together a lot easier, because I get to sort of see how I need to adhere them down so they can be all different heights and you can see all of the images equally, which is super nice as well. So I'm just finishing adhering down the last image, and then it's time to add in my submarine. So my submarine is going to be on the little slider panel here, and it's just going to move from side to side. I just think it's a cute little element to add, and honestly it didn't really take that much extra time at all. So I'm just going to add on some adhesive onto this submarine here, and then I'm just going to use this adhesive remover to remove a little bit of the adhesive from that I put down, because it was a little bit too large for what I needed to adhere on. So that just really helped me remove some of that adhesive away. Then I added one of these little slider elements, but you could definitely even use a coin or a piece of foam tape here. I just have these in my stash, so I like to use them. And then I just cut an additional square of cardstock as well, added a little bit more adhesive, removed some of it away with the adhesive remover, and then I could adhere my slider together. So I added that square of adhesive on the back of the slider channel and the submarine with the little slider element onto the front, squeeze them together, and then you can see later on that it's going to slide from side to side, which is really nice. And then my camera stopped recording, and so I'm really sorry about that, but for the sentiment I just used the ocean add-on dies once again and die cut this little wavy banner from some black cardstock. So then I just white heat embossed the sending deepest thanks sentiment on there, and to curve the sentiment I just used an acrylic block, laid the sentiment down flat, and then curved each end to fit that banner perfectly. Then I just used some lawnfawn white embossing powder to white heat emboss this sentiment onto the banner as well. Then I added a little bit more adhesive onto the back and adhered onto the top of my shadow box. So that finishes out my card for today. I really hope you enjoyed. You can see there that the submarine was moving side to side. It just creates a little bit more of a fun element onto this card, I guess. I love to be a little bit extra with things like this and add like extra elements in. I just think it's super fun, super different, and yeah, I don't know, I really like it. So that finishes up my card for today. I hope you guys enjoyed and got inspired. Also you can see here that it folds down pretty flat as well, so it doesn't add too much dimension either. So thank you so much for stopping by today. All of the supplies that I used will be listed down below, and make sure you also head over to the blog post as well to see all about Xyron Week as well, and all of the other inspiration from other design team members during this week as well. So thank you so much for watching again, and I will catch you all next time.